I would like to call budget and appropriations to order at 5:30 p.m. Council Covis, Council Conti, Council Blair, thank you for joining us. So tonight, what we're going to do is momentarily, we will vote the budget out of committee, hopefully. We'll go through. We're not going to read every single line item, the entire budget. This will be the second year in a row that we don't have to do that. The reason we're not doing that is the city solicitor last year gave us an opinion that where we're presenting the physical document, it removes the need for us to spend that tedious hour and a half reading every single line item, fiscal 21 revised, fiscal 22 recommended. So that's going to be a little more efficiency and more time we can add to the budget message. I started to craft the message over the last week. We'll pull that up. We'll craft it as we have in years past, live on TV, so people can actually see the message and the process on how we do it. It's been met with great feedback from the public to see that layer of transparency into how we craft the message. I will ask that we follow Robert's rules throughout the votes. After the votes, when we're doing the budget message, I feel it will only work, especially with Zoom, if we're respectfully kind of relaxing Robert's rules and working together on this. Any questions before I go into the motions? All right. From the docket of June 1st, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the solid waste fee of $251.06. This is an increase from fiscal year 2021. Public hearing was held last night.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. I'd ask for questions and thoughts. I will start off by saying it's contractual. I don't know that any of us are thrilled about this. I do appreciate the fact that last night, Council Kobish, you asked the Director of Budget Administration, Jeremy Stahl, really kind of to figure it out. Looks like it will be going up about $14 year over year for the next 3 years after this one. Any other questions? Council Conti.
This rate sounds frightening, but it's the lowest rate in our nearest vicinity. It's below all of our neighboring towns. So the reason why it's scary is because the whole market has changed. The whole dynamic has changed. And as a result, our contract changed. That concludes my comments.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good comment too, because if we think about when that contract was signed, it was right before the pandemic. I believe it was February of last year. So, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. From the docket of June 1st, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the solid waste fee of $60.44 per unit to be credited to fund number 2604, residential special waste disposal for fiscal year 2022. Public hearing was last night.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. Any other questions or concerns on this? Only thing I will say is this is the portion of that solid waste fee that goes in per user that goes into the revolving fund, which we voted out on June 1st. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. From the docket of June 1st, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the water fee of $5.10 per 100 cubic feet. This rate applies to consumption on and after July 1st, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, I just noticed that typo in the document you have. It says 2020, but it is 2021. Council Conti, I want to offer this up to you because I know you had some comments last night at the public hearing. So if you had anything you wanted to add.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am in favor of the water rate being adjusted every year to accommodate the expense increases on an annual basis, rather than letting it go 2 years or worse, 3 years or 4 years before there's an adjustment. So I fully endorse this $5.10, and I went through a question and answer period with the mayor on, why only 5.10 and why not 5.14 or 5.15 to better reflect the increases. And I'm comfortable with all of the answers that I got. So this represents a I hope a continuing policy for the future that each year the water rate is truly reviewed to reflect what's happening in the department. And that concludes my comments.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we'll add that to the budget message. I didn't have a chance to get to that piece of it yet, so that'll be good. I agree with that. I think I'll see you hand, Todd. I'll get you in 17 and a half seconds. I think the reality is the problem that most residents and ratepayers have is when their bill jumps, $100 a quarter or $50 a quarter. When we're talking about less than 1%, it's going to be in most cases less than $5 a year of an increase. I think this is the way that we can start to work and build healthy retained earnings and still improve the quality of the water that we have in the city. Councilor Kovitz, then Councilor Conchi.
Sounds good. And I also agree with everything Councilor Conti said. I very much approve of the strategy of the gradual increase in being reflective of what the actual cost is. The one thing I wanted to add to this is that the indirect costs has decreased significantly. So the water department, it has decreased quite a bit. So that's positive as well. So this actual increase is reflective of what it actually costs, because I know people a lot of times will talk about the indirect costs as a slush fund for the city so that they could raise the water rates and then pay some of direct that money into the city. But the actual indirect cost that the water department is paying to the city has gone down significantly this year. So this is so that's good. So yeah, that's all.
All right, thanks, Todd. Rick.
So the indirect costs have dropped because the water department is picking up the trenching responsibility, and that is good. And Michael Tyler and Courtney are communicating well on what the quality and the standard is expected of them. So I'm confident that that's going to work out okay. And it's good that the trenching has moved over to the water department. They should be responsible for the trench repairing. Mm-hmm. I did say the other night that I was concerned about the retained earnings, and I just hope that we have a good year, that we don't have a lot of pressure on those retained earnings. And the reality is that if we do, she's just going to have to come to the council, and we're going to have to write a check. That's what we do. And we're fortunate that there's enough money in the stabilization account that if there's a big water main break and the retained earnings can't handle it, we're going to have to find a way to fix the problem financially. But I'm hoping that in future years, the retained earnings will not be reduced to such a slim margin, that the retained earnings be healthy and like our stabilization fund, always be there for a rainy day should a rainy day occur. It's the roll of the dice. That's the way I see it. Let's just hope we have a good year, and if we're going to be repairing Reed Street, that takes care of our number one problem. That concludes my comments.
Yeah, no, Rick, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. And if I could just add to that, I think what we're seeing too is, and we've said it for anyone who's been on the council for any time, we play catch up. We're playing catch up with the infrastructure, whether it was my first year on council, and I used this when we toured the old DPW yard with then Superintendent Clover. And, we saw the old street signs that were welded onto the floor of the dump truck. We've been playing catch up. Attleboro is an aging city. And if the needs of the replacement of the infrastructure doesn't necessarily match up with where we're at fiscally, we're going to run into problems. It's basic math. However, I think that by raising this rate incrementally in a responsible manner every year, it's going to cut down the catch up. And by catch up, I mean not, and it takes some moxie to raise rates in an election year. So I don't want that to be understated, but it's done incrementally, responsibly, so we're not catching up with these big pendulum swings one way to another. Councilor.
So what you just said should find a way of getting into the budget message in some manner, because over on the capital improvement side, I'm feeling pleased that we're finally making some progress. We got a $500,000 budget again. I see a lot of money coming from the ARP going into the enterprise fund for $10 million worth of capital improvements repairs. So I'm seeing a shift in the administration to pay attention to the capital improvement need. The problem is it's so large, you know, and the roadways are, we're not going to go there. So what you said is budget and administration, and it reflects what I'm feeling over in capital improvement and city development. That's really what I want to say, and that some of that has to trickle down into the budget message that this year we really show a great potential of making a lot of progress. That concludes my comments.
Well, I appreciate those comments. Two things I'll add is one, when I said that, you know, we're playing catch up, that's not by any stretch a shot at any previous administration. I think it's a combination of the aging infrastructure, the economy. I think that, you know, making a comment that this administration made that we're going to responsibly and incrementally raise the price, you know, and it's less than the price of inflation. So, I mean, when you think of that, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. We've got to take it step by step, right? The second thing that I'm glad you brought up was the opera funds, the American Recovery Program Act. You know, we don't know how that's going to be used, but hopefully that'll be able to be used for some of these projects that we know we need to get done at a capital level. Broadband, water, wastewater seem to be, without fully reading the 135-page guidance, seem to be where the priorities would lay as that program is laid out. So I think that could help to get some of the projects done, to take a little bit of pressure off the retained earnings. So, you know, we're moving in the right direction at a really difficult time. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. All right, so as I said, we're not going to be reading line item by line item. We did have a ruling from the city solicitor saying that we don't need to, where we actually physically present the budget. So from the docket of June 1st, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the proposed water and wastewater enterprise budgets for fiscal year 22 as attached.
Second.
All right, any questions, concerns? This is actually voting the budget out of committee for water and wastewater as is. And one thing that I would ask, and I think we've done this in years past and it's worked pretty well, is if there's any cuts, if we could hold those until tomorrow night in front of the full council, I think it's probably more prudent and efficient. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns on the water and wastewater budget? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. From the docket of June 1st, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the proposed general budget for fiscal 2022. See attached.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. Actually, Todd, before you second, can you pull back your second for 1 sec?
Sure. Pull back.
This does not include $1,179,633 in SO2 funding being used to fund increase in the required minimum local contribution.
Second.
Thank you. So those ESSER funds are the school's equivalent to ARPA. If I had to just kind of equate it. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns on the general government budget? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, and we've already voted everything else out of committee. I'm just gonna, just because I want to be 100% sure. We just voted the budget. We voted the 834,000 last week. We voted the revolving funds June 1st. Just voted the solid waste fee. We just voted the $60.44. We just voted the water budgets, wastewater. We voted the 34 from information. Yeah, it's important that we've been able to provide wastewater services at no increased cost in the rate structure. Therefore, there's no need to change the ordinance for the wastewater rate, 14,000, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think we still need to do the transfer for the water enterprise and wastewater enterprise funds.
I believe we did that last week.
Okay,
I can go back to my notes, but yeah, we did that last week. That was the 34,000.
no, I'm talking about the 650,452.91 for water and the 596,406.59.
Yep,
We
did
did
that.
do that?
Yeah, we did that. Todd, help me out. Was it Monday? We did do that because I broke those out into two separate votes.
Okay,
If you want to give me a second, I'll find. I know we voted those. But let me-
Yeah. I forget exactly when, but
we've been through a lot the last couple of weeks.
Yep, we
Little
100% have. But I appreciate where you're coming from. If you'll just bear with me one moment. Okay, so yes, so here's what we voted on the 14th. The 834,000, the 34,000, the 14,000, the 650,000, the 596, and then everything we voted on last night. So we are good, my friends. Thank you. I just like to ensure that we have all of the T's crossed and I's dotted when it comes to this. So I will be sharing my screen if I'm able to. And we will review what I have for what I've got started for the budget message. All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll just kind of go line by line and we'll stop after every paragraph and just kind of see if anyone has any thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Mayor Hero presented the fiscal 22 general government water and wastewater budgets on May 11th, 2021. The Municipal Council would like to thank Mayor Hero, the Budget Director Jeremy Stull, and all the department heads for their thorough review of each department's budget. We appreciate the budget binders as well as the overview of each department as provided by Does that incorporate a little bit about what you were talking about earlier, Rick?
I think that overview of each department was provided by the department heads.
True, it was Jeremy's idea, but I think you're correct. So we can just leave it as such.
Yep.
All right. Jim Jones and ACS for their partnership and support by televising all of the budget hearings. Special thank you to City Auditor Deb Gould. Deb has been an integral advisor to the council throughout this year, but specifically throughout the budget process.
I'm good with that.
I want one more that
interesting. I was just looking at the previous budget messages. I know when Jeremy started, I thought we had put it in the previous budget message, but one of the things I had reached out to him was to send him a bunch of other budgets from other communities that have that initial message, and I was like, we should be doing this. We should talk about our achievements and all of that, and so I love that, absolutely love they put that in there. But I think we just communicated that privately to him when he first started, just to say that because what we were putting out there wasn't a great product in the past.
Yeah, I like the binder. I like the, because he was really transparent with what the needs are and what the challenges are for this budget too. So, I think a lot of times I take Virginia for granted. Virginia helped me set the schedule back in May, helped me get it out to the department heads, organize the schedule, and then organize all the votes. She got all the votes ready for us for the previous year, because this is the second year that we're on Zoom for the budget hearings, second year that we've had the ruling that we're able to present the budget as is. Anyone else that you think, I can't think of anyone else. Seeing none, I'm moving on. The Municipal Council wish to recognize, I should say wishes to recognize and thank the work and effort of every municipal employee and department on the city side and school side for their efforts to maintain city services throughout the COVID-19/coronavirus pandemic. If I don't hear anything, I'm just going to assume that we're in agreement and we move on. As Attleboro emerges from the pandemic, it is important to control spending, make decisions that are fiscally responsible, and continue to build for the future. Part of that focus needs to be clear communication with the administration between. It's one of those, I always tell my team at work, always read it out loud before you send it. To clear communication between the administration and council on how and when the American Rescue Plan ARPA funds are to be used. The council understands the nuances of a program this size with the intricate guidance from the federal government. The council understands and is optimistic about the financial ARPA could have over the city, on the city over the 4-year life of the program. The council appreciates the sentiments of the mayor that there is no city department that is adequately funded, staffed, or equipped. Just noticed I left a how do you do off. The administration started with the deficit on the city side of $1.7 million and a $2 million deficit on the school side. This made it necessary for each department head, including the schools, to have a focus on the basic needs of their department. The council would like to urge the administration to continue to be prudent and focus on appropriate staffing levels across all city departments. It is important to ensure the fire department is adequately staffed with firefighters for the safety of the community and of the firefighters. The council understands the hiring challenges and would like to, I'm going to change that. But would like to see the AFD staffed appropriately to offset the need for overtime. The staffing level should be 18 firefighters per shift. This will meet the safety requirements of a city this size and will cut back on overtime costs. I just kind of threw this one on, so I kind of want to get some thoughts from the council. The council would recommend a staffing and OT study to be performed for all departments.
I like it. I'm all for it. It's disappointing to see the cut in staffing levels this year.
Yeah.
That's well overdue, long time overdue, Jay.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Rick, anything you want to add to that?
I think you've stated this well. I love the last sentence.
Agreed.
Great. Most of the expenses from the school side of the budget are contractually obligated. The council appreciates the administration allowing. All right. The council appreciates the administration to agreeing to reapply carryover funds from fiscal 21 to offset some of the fiscal deficit for fiscal 22. The council was dismayed to learn the funding from the state was approximately $2.5 million less due to low enrollment numbers due to the pandemic. The hope continues to be that the state re-examines their funding formulas and that with the end of COVID, the enrollment numbers will rebound for 2021 and 2022 school year. Anything more we want to put for the school?
And I just encourage you to look back to that first sentence, the administration to agree. Appreciate the administration's continued agreement to continued agreement.
Jay?
Yes.
I would not say most. I would say an overwhelming majority of the expenses from the school side It's 92%.
Right. Do you want me to take out the more than 90% or leave that? I think that kind of.
I would take out more than 90%. I mean, we're making it pretty clear that it's an overwhelming majority. That's good.
Wish I could type. Administration's commitment. Appreciate the administration.
What
Oh,
the heck?
we lost a whole bunch there. Control Z. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. It continues.
Yeah,
Looks like something was pasted in there after commitment. COM. Oh, Control Z. There you go. Yep.
I'll get back. I want to see where we. Okay.
How's it feel to be typing in front of the entire world?
See that next
I have the
sentence?
same, Rick.
No pressure. It's just on the internet forever.
Where it says the council appreciate, right there. Yep. And then delete the rest of the sentence. It continues on the next page. Yep. Delete. Delete. Delete.
All right.
Keep deleting. There you go.
All right.
And then apostrophe S for administrations. And then we're good. Sorry.
Okay. Yep.
So, there we go. Perfect.
Carryover funds from fiscal 21 offset some of the fiscal deficit. Council was dismayed to learn the funding from the loan owing to the pandemic. The hope continues to be that the state examines their funding formulas and that with the, should be a comma, correct? That with the, are we good with the schools?
Good.
Okay. Yeah. The council is very concerned about the future of Cape and Parks due to the impact COVID-19 had on its admissions. Council is encouraged by the increased admissions so far in the spring of 2021. The performance of the gift shop throughout the pandemic, the creative events such as an October 2021 wedding, and looks forward to the return of field trips, camps, and other programs. The council urges the administration to use appropriate ARPA funds to offset lost revenue if it meets the criteria of the program. The council has been in favor of the use of the shared clerk. I think I'll add position. And was disappointed to see the position staffed only at 50%. It is the view of the council that the city should be looking at ways to increase shared services. And this position illustrates the importance of shared services to maintain high levels of service delivery.
Counselor, it's more than just maintain high levels of service delivery. It is to maintain best practices. So high levels and best practices.
Best practices relating to?
If there isn't enough time in the position, things get left undone and they pile up. And as a result, it creates future chaos. So the best practice is to get all the work done real time. And you need enough staffing to accomplish that. I don't know how to put it better than that, Jay. But typically when a city hall administrator gets overwhelmed with responsibilities, something's got to go.
Right.
And it's only a matter of time before it comes back to bite everybody in the butt.
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know. I don't know how to say that eloquently.
No,
I don't think so.
I think it reads pretty good just the way you got it now. And as long as they know that the council isn't satisfied with that 50%
Mhm.
on that clerk that moves around, I don't think you have to go any deeper than that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at best practices. Another example. Another example in this budget of shared services is moving the enterprise electrician to the wastewater department while allowing the water department to pay when those services are needed. These are examples of how shared services bring a level of efficiency and cost savings to the city.
Love it.
Want to remove that of in the third word of the paragraph.
No, I think I've worked, right? Another example of, I think third word, sorry, it might be. I got you, Rick. All right. These examples could open the possibility of a citywide facilities management staff where repairs of the city can be cared for in-house and would be an efficient and cost-efficient way of maintaining city buildings. I'm looking at faces. I'm not hearing words, but
Um,
the segue was.
hold up just 1 minute. This is where I think what I was talking about before, Jay, when we were talking about when we kind of got off the track on the $5.10. This may be where we want to put that. I don't like what's there.
What don't you, just the way it's written, or the
The concept, the opening the possibility of a citywide facilities management staff is a recognition that capital improvement needs to be maintained. And we've made progress in doing that. Maybe this is not the place to bring that in.
Todd thoughts?
What was that?
His thoughts.
I don't like the way this is written, but I like the idea of including mention that we could achieve some cost savings in cross department synergy by bringing in a citywide facilities management staff. And so I do like the idea of having that in writing in the budget message.
I agree, Councilor Cobus, because this has been talked about for at least 10 years.
Yep.
and the people pushing for it are no longer with us, but it has been needed for a long time.
So I don't want to lose it from the budget message.
Let's leave it there for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe Jay, if you want to rework it before tomorrow a little bit, and we can look at it again.
I don't think it really has to be reworked. I think it says it pretty clear. That's good. Something's got to come down for administration. You're going to have to do a cost study. Who's going to be involved in the staff, electrician, plumber, whatever. You could definitely save some money with the right staff and the right management, but that's going to entail quite a study.
And it could have a very positive impact.
Very positive with the right,
and save the taxpayers a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. And I think you could keep a staff busy citywide most of the time.
Look how busy Jason is in the school department.
Well, and that's really what it is. So I think we put that in. So council will be open to a feasibility study focusing on a citywide facilities management staff.
I think that says it all, Jay. It doesn't need much tweaking as far as I'm concerned.
I want to make sure we get the cost efficient and so
Taxpayer savings.
It could, but that feasibility studies sort of really necessary. If you don't get the right management and the number of skilled workers in there, it could be a fiasco also.
By preventative maintenance.
Yeah. It's the biggest key, whether it be your own home or city buildings, you know, if you don't preventive maintenance, it gets big cost items real fast.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty nicely written, Jay.
thank you, friends. My education in journalism didn't go to waste.
I don't know.
Settle down, Peter, settle down. Also, in the van and shared services, the council agrees with the GIS service and subscription are with the assessor, but is accessible to other departments for use. This is an important service to provide accurate searches to multiple departments such as assessor, planning, and public safety. Also, the council supports the trench repair to the water department to do the work after a water main break. This gives the DPW opportunity to redeploy resources. So I put those under shared resources. I don't know that the DPW, the trench repair is. Are we, because I think this could be a, because here's what we, so let's see, how do we want to, all right, this allows. All right, so the council appreciates the incremental and responsible manner in which the water rate was raised, 0.79%. I'm gonna need some help on this one. I'm kind of hitting writer's block at this point. The council appreciates the incremental and responsible manner in which the water rate was raised. Do I need the 0.79%?
I would say annual increases prevent large, annual increases prevent substantial increases.
Small annual changes.
Small annual increases.
Prevent substantial increases.
Substantial increases.
Period. Period.
Let's say, which, yeah, that's fine. Less is more. Also, the council supports the trench repair to the water department to do the work after a water main break. This gives DPW the opportunity to redeploy resources and puts the
Accountability where it belongs.
How do we feel about that?
I'm good.
I'm just going to read them one more time. Council appreciates the incremental and responsible manner in which the water rate was raised. Small annual increases prevent substantial increases. Unsustainable. See, I struggle with this because I think what we want to say, right, is it prevents these huge pendulum swings. I like substantial. It's one of my favorite words.
It prevents
Increases prevents.
larger increases every several years.
Larger increases every.
Fluctuations.
You got to use those big words. You weren't born and brought up on the east side, I can tell you that.
And I very much agree with this statement. And this is when we talk about the tax shift and trying to stabilize that for, you know, consistent increases as opposed to huge shifts one way or the other. This is largely what I'm trying to do.
Sounds good.
All right, council appreciates the incremental and responsible manner in which the water rate was raised. Small annual increases prevents larger rate fluctuations every several years, providing an additional burden to the ratepayer.
Yep. Just after where it says the water rate was raised, period, capital S. Sorry to nitpick.
No, this isn't nitpicking. It saves me from going back and doing the grammatical review later on. Rick, how are you feeling about this?
I think you can end it right after fluctuations. Small annual increases prevent larger rate fluctuations. That's got a noun, it's got a verb, it's got a direct object. That works.
I'm with it. All right. COVID-19 has illustrated how important it is to be able to have a flexible IT network, which allows the city. A sentence sounds like crap. Right here. All right. COVID-19 has illustrated how important it is to be able to have a flexible IT network.
We've now seen how the city must pivot and change directions based on unforeseen circumstances. We have now seen how the city must pivot.
Oh, what is? I don't need a photo.
And just hear me out. So for this, my general thought is that we were kind of caught with our pants down with regard to COVID-19 and the MIS infrastructure that we had. And I think we've grossly underfunded this within the city year after year. And frankly, I think we've just been lucky that we haven't had our water department hacked in the way that we saw down in Florida. Even though we were using the same technology that they were using, and we were just lucky not to have been hit there. I think maybe we can say something about, you know, COVID-19 as well as recent cyber attacks have illustrated the need to adequately fund the MIS department within the city as a public safety measure, and we'd like to see funding for MIS and continue to be increased year over year, or something along those lines.
Council Cobus, if I can just add to what you just said, in the city of Taunton today, I was talking to the second assistant city solicitor, who was telling me that the insurance for the city of Taunton on cybersecurity has gone from $25,000 last year to $200,000 this year. It has become a central focus point for risk managers. Since we've already mentioned COVID-19 in the prior sentence, I think I'd like to have this sentence focus on those cyber attackers. Would you be okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah, I think, Rick, you're right, because it's probably pretty safe to say that COVID-19 is one way or another impacting every single word of this budget message. All right, so recent cyber attacks across the country have brought into focus the importance of providing funding and resources for the MIS department as a function of public safety. The council applauds the work of the MIS department and encourages the administration to keep focus on IT improvements, which give the MIS department the tools they need for a city of this size. The council would like to see the continued focus on the switch to a public safety network.
Mr. Chairman, on those two sentences, this year I took a deep dive into the IT department, and I believe that the IT department has changed as a result of COVID and as a result of cyber attacks. The IT department now is very active in discussions with several outside vendors, which is a new development. And it is going to lead to a more accelerated progression in the IT department. So what's new, what's changed is that in the past we had an IT department that took control of things and held on to things and managed it very well. But the COVID-19 and the cyber attacks have changed the world of IT to the point where our little IT department is outmaneuvered by these outside forces. And they're wise enough to be able to go outside to find outside professionals to empower this little team to be able to counter those outside attacks. I don't know how you put that into this message, and I don't even know if you want to address it. But for me, who took the deep dive into the IT department this year, I see a changed department.
All right, the council applauds the work of the MIS department and encourages the administration to keep focus on IT improvements, which give the MIS department the tools they need for a city this size. These tools may be internal or external sources to encourage continued growth in the MIS department.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah, perfect. Todd?
I see the last sentence. The council would like to see continued focus on the switch to a public safety network. We just shouldn't use the word switch with the word network. Continued focus on a independent public safety network. Robust and independent. Focus on the move to a robust and independent public safety network.
The way I've been informed about that, it doesn't have to be completely independent. They've got some ways to cure that at far less than that $250,000 we were looking at earlier. But we still have to focus on making sure police and fire are not interrupted at any time due to a problem out there, and because it's needed for the public safety of our residents. I think they're doing fine, but I don't know if, that's in the study that they're doing now. I don't think we have to go into that too deep. When it comes down for funding, we'll get a better look at it. I think
Yeah,
just mention,
Pete, sorry to interrupt, but remember, the message is for future years, future councils, and,
yeah, yeah.
you know, so I think that it's important. It's almost like a time capsule where we are.
Well, I think you're saying that. I just don't think you have to go any deeper into it.
Yeah, I think what we have here is right what we need to say.
Yeah,
The council has asked for regular updates from the city solicitor in the past and asks again. It is important for the council to have line of sight into the spending in those areas of the budget. The council would also like to explore the possibility of a solicitor reporting directly to the council president for council-only measures. I know,
very good.
yeah, we've talked about this several different times over the years. I think it was even in last year or the year before's budget. I
And
think,
it's
Yep.
sorry to interrupt. And it's not just a report from from the city solicitor, but I'd like visibility into all of the legal things, whether it's like union grievances, all the different legal cases that the city is in the middle of.
How do you put it that we'd like a periodic update on, what's going on with the legal department as far as, I don't know how to put it, suits, whatever. You're gonna have to meet in a closed chamber. You can't do this out in the public.
yeah, I mean, I think that's, I don't know, we need to put that in that it.
No,
But
I
think
know that.
you're right, because we used to do it all the time. Right? When I was chair of city property and claims, and when Rick was, before I got on, Rick was city property and claims. The two of us carried on. It wasn't quarterly, but it was at least once a year. We had Bob Mangiarotti come down. Now, a lot of that, in fairness, was because of there were quite a few lawsuits. Not mentioning Three Little Letters, ARA. But, there was a lot going on at that time. But I think if we put into your point, Peter, put in quarterly, this is what we're looking for.
Either quarterly or at least semi-annually, let's not wait a year to know what's going on.
Line of sight into, how do we want to put this? All legal,
Matters pertaining to city business should be reporting directly to the council at either a quarterly or at least semi-annually, Jay, whichever you feel is sufficient.
let's say quarterly. Hope for the best, expect the worst, right?
Probably won't get it, but at least we're asking.
Well, and then the council would also like to explore the possibility of a solicitor reporting directly to the council president for council-only matters. This has come up a couple different times. I think it takes away a little bit of conflict of interest.
Well, there's definitely a conflict of interest. We don't sign their paycheck or their paycheck, whoever it is.
Rick, I'm curious on your thoughts on this.
I can't get my mind off of the fact that we should be looking at outside versus in-house city solicitor. And it gets in my way. If we had an in-house city solicitor, the council president would have rapid access. And I guess I'm spoiled because on the fourth floor of the Taunton City Hall are 6 lawyers. 6. With 2 paralegals.
You got problems with Taunton.
And still I have to hire attorneys for my appellate tax board cases.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have problems in Taunton.
No, I didn't mean that, Rick.
I know it was comical.
I thought I was being funny, but I don't want you to take it personally.
No, I didn't take it the wrong way.
Okay.
But we have said this before, and
I agree with you, Rich. When we get up around spending $400,000 to $500,000 a year,
Not including the schools,
huh?
not including the school department.
Right. Then
Yeah, you're over 2 million.
it's like overtime in any department. When it gets to a certain point, maybe more employees cuts the overtime, in-house legal services, going to cut the fees quicker turnaround. I think we're probably getting to that point. It's time that we have in-house legal services.
I think, Jay, I like that last sentence. You know, I've always thought that if we just had a couple of paralegals on staff, they could make a decision whether it should go outside or inside.
Yep. No, I absolutely agree. And geez, Rick, you and I have been talking about this for as long as I've known you. All right, and then I just figure end with a few quick hits. Other areas the council remains focused on continued, Rick, you're gonna like this one. Continued focus on growing the capital improvement line items. Ideally, each department would have their own capital improvement line item in future budgets to help with CIP budgeting.
Amen. Capital's misspelled.
Yeah, I know.
We wanted to see if you're on the ball.
Well, the red line gave it away. Going forward, the budget committee will be requesting quarterly budget updates, including debt services from, should be a little more professional. Budget and administration director. Including a financial update annually per the charter.
Great. Love it.
Communication with the administration on ARPA funds to have line of sight into when and how they will be used. So I don't know, to be quite honest, I don't know if the administration is going to need to bring down those funds for us to deliberate on or not.
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah. So that's what we want to still continue to find out. Do we want more teeth into this, or?
I don't know if it really needs it, Jay. You said what it means, you know? Sometimes less is better.
Rick, talk, because I don't disagree with Peter.
We don't,
I
Mr.
think
Chairman, we don't really have any say whatsoever on how the ARPA funds are going to be used, because the federal government is giving guidelines, and they've already revised that guidelines many times. So all we are focused on is how the feds are going to allow us to apply the ARPA funds. That's it. You know, we don't really have any say in it. They're going to say, look, we're going to give you a grant to do this. It's $3 million. And we're going to say, okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's all you have to, right?
Public safety feasibility study being sent back down with a full review, and is understanding the importance of this study as it relates to facilities, staffing levels, equipment to ensure world-class public safety in Attleboro.
I think that's good, Jay. I'd like to see it come back down, but this time when it comes down, the two chiefs should be there, the mayor should be there, in-depth knowledge. I think I, for one, got blindsided because all we saw was a $200,000 expenditure. And I think my quote was, all of us on the council know we need a new one, you know? And whether it was the right time or not, if it was presented to us properly, we would have had time to digest it and make the right decision. So I think that it comes down, and we know what, with a full review and understanding of the importance of this study. I think that as it relates to I think it's pretty straightforward, and that's what I'd like to see.
Rick?
Mr. Chairman, I think the administration learned a lesson when my committee did not allow that feasibility study to go to the full council. And I believe that there is a large planning effort to put in an encompassing presentation of regional dispatch versus non-regional cost analysis. And that can't be done right away. I don't expect to see it until December. So I guess I would want to say that the council remains focused on a comprehensive public safety presentation,
Right.
a comprehensive presentation on the public safety facility or feasibility study. You know, I'm with Peter on this 100%. You don't just go to the council and ask them for a $200,000, especially after a very disappointing library feasibility study and a very disappointing council on aging feasibility study. Do not come and ask for $200,000 without with just a page and a half of a request. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little hot here. I'll calm down.
I'm with you 100%, Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. Councilor Cobus.
I think
It demeans, listen to me, it demeans the vetting of the council when you do something like that. And at this point, in this message, on this line, we need to emphasize that we take our job seriously. You can't just do that. I don't know how you say that, Jay.
I think it said, if you read behind the lines, I think it comes across, Richard.
Yes,
You know,
that's a good job, Jay. I like what you have there.
I mean, you and I talking about it's a little different than putting it down on paper, but I think this goes to fact.
Yeah. Jay, I like what you got there. Is
All
that
right.
the end? Because I got a problem.
And what's the problem?
Go back up to the fire department paragraph. Okay. After the council would recommend staffing an OT study be performed departments, I'd like to see another paragraph. And in that paragraph, I want to address the Attleboro Police Department, because in this budget, Jay, the big winner is the Attleboro Police Department. They now have funding for traffic safety, traffic control unit. They now have a decent education budget for the first time that I have been a city council. When I became a city council, Jay, their budget was $15,000. That's absurd for 82 men and women. That's ridiculous. So now we're up to 200, I think, in, I don't know, 225, 285, I forget. But it's now approaching reality, and at a time when police department are hitting the headlines and the public is clamoring for continued education for policemen, because it can make a difference in policing. Not saying that the Attleboro Police Department hasn't done a fabulous job. That POP team is incredible, and that's exactly where this is going. So I want to say that the Attleboro Police Department has, well, let me just see what you're putting down here right now.
Continues to move forward. It's worded a little funny there with this department.
Hold on, Chief. Let me finish the thought and then we can wordsmith.
Okay. You're talking to somebody that flunked English, so go ahead.
And also, Jay, he's providing a decent working environment for his staff for the first time since they've been in that building. And we've just seen that come recently come through the council. But I wasn't present for the police department evening because I had other obligations, and I heard that he was a little hot, and he was probably a little hot because of what my committee did the night before, or that night, or whatever.
Yeah, you couldn't tell he was hot.
He didn't stutter too much.
I know we haven't talked since then, Jay. So, so what I want to say, I'll tell you what I think, and then you can determine whether or not it's appropriate. I have thought that the Attleboro Police Department has been underfunded for a very long time, just like the IT department, and just like many other departments. But I thought it was more critical underfunding the Attleboro Police Department than some other departments because of the public safety issue. I've encouraged the police chief during budget times to be aggressive in his budget presentations to the mayor, and to be more challenging in cutting those budgets through the administration. Because I think the department is really well run, and I think the department's full of really good people. And I want the city of Attleboro to have the best police department possible. And I think that for a long time, we've starved them financially. So the fact that we've increased the education budget and that we've started the funding for our traffic control unit, together with refurbishing all of the internal part of the building, because they're going to be there a while. That joint public safety feasibility study is just the first step, but it's going to be 10 years, maybe 15 years before they have a joint public safety facility. I like that he's improving the proxemics inside the police department to make it more comfortable during that period of time before such a place becomes a reality.
I think Kyle's done a good job with the administration, getting his point across up there, Richard.
I just think he needs to be more aggressive in the budget fight. That's all.
Well, sometimes I think he's getting something with, you get more with a little sugar than you do fighting with certain people.
True.
I say no more.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So he's doing a great job over there. He's brought
Jay is doing a good job of getting my attitude into this message, and I appreciate that, Jay.
No worries.
And one thing I don't think we need to add to this budget message, but that's I'd love to put it out there so that we can keep an eye on it for next year, that I very much appreciate, is it looks like the Chief Hagney does a great job of predicting overtime and not coming back to us at the end of the year to ask for more overtime money, whether he moves things around. I don't think I don't want to put it into this budget message, because I know the fire department came back and asked for a bunch of additional overtime money, but like this year it totally makes sense. And but it's something next year you kind of want to keep an eye on that, and very much appreciate the idea of an overtime study. I think it's long overdue, but I think Chief Hagney does a great job with predicting overtime costs.
He watches it pretty close, Todd. Mm-hmm. Very close.
Yep. I'm deeply appreciative that this paragraph is going into the budget message, and I thank you very much.
No, I think it's the right thing to do. Council appreciates you taking the ability to make transfers on budget and transfer costs. I've said it before and I will say it again. Chief Hegney as well, ahead of his time, well before we had a lot of this, the visible strife, because I think a lot of the strife that's going on today has been bubbling under the surface for decades. But, you know, and Rick, you know this as well as I do. For 10 years, he's been asking for the cameras, the body cams.
We're finally getting them.
Yeah, it's great, you know.
For our own liability, I think it's time we get them.
Well, I think for everyone, right? Because,
Yeah,
you know, we want to make sure that we're protecting.
you want to protect the policemen and you want to protect the public. It's a way of doing both.
Sure, that's kind of
It was
what
it was a number one priority in last year's capital improvement budget, and it would have been funded earlier if there wasn't issues that needed to be resolved. I'm glad they've resolved them, and I'm glad they're getting them. And what's better is that everybody's welcoming them. But I don't think that needs to go into a budget message.
I don't think so either. This is just my own editorial comments about his progressive thinking. I think when you think about the body cams and him asking for them for as long as he has, I think when you look at his training budget, he's always had a focus on sensitivity and de-escalation training. I think that's really important. And in terms of the reason why he wanted the crimes analyst, because it goes hand in hand with the problem-oriented policing. This puts the Attleboro police in a situation where they can either put more patrols if that's what's needed, if there's a rash of car break-ins, or they can have the POP team out there where there's more sensitivity and there's more of a need for that community involvement.
You know, I agree with just what you just said, and I voted against the crime analyst position. I've come around 180 degrees.
Well, you know why though, Rick? And because I remember that vote. I remember it. It was one of my first votes, if memory serves. And he put his money where his mouth is, literally and figuratively. And that's one thing I've learned about Chief Hegney. The other thing is, you know, how many police chiefs in this day and age would go out when there's a Black Lives Matter protest on his front lawn, essentially, go out there and put his arm around the organizers and talk to them and say, hey, I'm ready to listen. Let's have a chat. I thought that was really inspiring, and I think that's part of the reason, and maybe I'm knocking on wood, but we don't have the some of the problems that some of our other communities have.
It goes back to what a great administrator he is, Jay.
Thank you for putting in this paragraph.
Yep. All right. So let's just go. If there's nothing else to add, I just want to read it top to, so we'll vote it out of committee. You know, I think realistically, yeah, it probably makes sense that we just, I'm just going to read it. If you guys can bear with me for another 5 minutes, I'll just read it and then we'll be done. From the docket of June 17th, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the following budget for fiscal 2022. Mayor Rowe presented the fiscal 2022 general government water wastewater budgets on May 11th, 2021. The Municipal Council would like to thank Mayor Rowe, the Budget Director Jeremy Stoll, and all of the department heads for their thorough review of each department's budget. We appreciate the budget binders as well as the overview of each department. Jim Jones and AACS for their partnership and support by televising all the budget hearings. Special thank you to City Auditor Deb Gould. Deb has been an integral advisor to the council throughout the year, but specifically throughout the budget process. We would also like to thank Council Administrative Assistant Virginia Stewart for her support and organization throughout the process. The Municipal Council wishes to recognize and thank the work of and effort of every municipal employee and department on the city side for their efforts to maintain city services throughout the COVID-19/coronavirus pandemic. As Attleboro emerges from the pandemic, it's important to continue to control spending, make decisions that are fiscally responsible, and continue to build for the future. Part of that focus needs to be clear communication between the administration and council on how and when to use the American Rescue Plan ARPA funds are to be used. And how and when the ARPA funds are to be, okay. The council understands the nuances of a program this size with the intricate guidance from the federal government. The council understands and is optimistic about the financial impact ARPA could have on the city over the 4-year life of the program. The council appreciates the sentiment of the mayor that there is no city department that is adequately funded, staffed, or equipped. The administration started with a deficit on the city side of $1.7 million and a $2 million deficit on the school side. This made it necessary for each department head, including the schools, to have a focus on the basic needs of their department. The council would like to urge the administration to continue to be prudent and focus on appropriate staffing levels across all city departments. It's important to ensure the fire department is adequately staffed with firefighters for the safety of the community and of the firefighters. The council understands the hiring challenges, but would like to see the AFD staffed appropriately to offset the need for overtime. Staffing levels should be 18 firefighters per shift. This will meet the safety requirements of the city this size and will cut back on overtime costs. The council would recommend staffing and overtime study be performed for all departments. We should probably thank the Attleboro Fire Department for all they did throughout the course of the pandemic. They were truly on the front lines.
Jay, would we want an overtime study to be performed for all departments, or are we really only focusing on police and fire departments?
Those are the two major ones.
Yeah,
I don't mind also including DPW, water.
Yeah. I think it's well put, and we'll get what we want. Well, I don't know if we'll get what we want, but I think what's written down adequately spells out what we're looking for. Todd, I agree with you.
is that council would recommend staffing and OT study be performed for departments with historically high amounts of overtime?
Yeah, very good. That points in the right direction, Jay.
Yep.
And then the Attleboro Police Department continues to move this department forward with the creation of the traffic unit, continued focus on appropriate training for the times, and continued community involvement with the crimes analysts and the great work of the problem-oriented policing. The APD is a well-run department and has been able to overcome facilities issues, budgetary issues outside their control, i.e. court fees and towing contracts, as well as a continued focus on hiring the right officers for the times we're in. Council appreciates Chief Hegney's ability to make transfers in his own budget in order to limit requests to the council, thus saving the taxpayer money. Here's where I think, what did I just do? Anything else we want to add to that?
Does that relate to a budget message, Jay?
I think so. And again, just from a time capsule perspective,
So can we say within their budgets?
I don't think you have to get into budgets.
yeah,
I think
this is definitely outside of a budgetary message per se, but I think it also goes with the overall narrative of how the city, the budgets, and everything was impacted by the pandemic. I think it's an appropriate vehicle for it.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. Anything you want to add to it, Todd, or Peter, or Rick?
No, I think it's well put. You know, those particular departments really come through for the city as a whole, and it's nice to recognize them.
I see Kathleen's on there. Kathleen, you've been very quiet throughout this. I can only see 3 people on at a time. Please feel free to add to anything that you want.
Thank you, Jay. Well, I think the sentiment is nice, but as you guys were talking, there's so many people. Like, I'm also thinking of teachers. There was just a lot of craziness, but in terms of first responders, and that's it. But I feel like so many people stepped up and went above and beyond. But
Yeah, I feel we do capture that as well, because I think you're right. Municipal council wishes to recognize and thank the work and effort of every municipal employee department on the city side, school
Yep.
side.
Okay.
I think the one with the public safety is important, because they're the ones literally on the first lines. They're the ones that were rushing into those situations, the ones that ended up hospitalized because of it. And we'll leave it in. If the council votes it out tomorrow, that's all well and good. And I'm sorry, Kathleen, I didn't see you there. So, please feel free to.
Oh, that's all right. I've been listening. It's good. Thank you.
An overwhelming majority of the expenses from the school side of the budget are contractually obligated. The council appreciates the administration's commitment to reapply carryover funds from fiscal 21 to offset, the administration, we're talking about the city. Does that read as city?
Oh, shit.
I just want to make sure that we're talking about the mayor's administration, not the school's administration, to reapply carryover funds from fiscal 21 to offset some of the fiscal deficit for fiscal 22. Council was dismayed to learn the funding from the state was appropriately $2.5 million less due to low enrollment numbers due to the pandemic. The hope continues to be that the state reexamines their funding formulas and that with the end of the COVID, with the end of the COVID for enrollment numbers will rebound in 2021-22 school year. This again is where we could put the sentiment similar to what we did for the first responders, to the school administrators, teachers, for the remote, hybrid. That's up to, I'd open that up to discussion. I think I know what Rick's going to say.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I just think this isn't your typical budget message, just given the COVID. And I think when you look at what the first responders did, when you think about what the teachers and that administration had to do and work through.
You could simply thank them for their diligence in trying to educate students as the best possible under difficult situation. Along that line, Jerry, somewhere. Well put, Jay.
Can I go up to the paragraph above, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
The hope continues. Can we replace that with the council encourages its members to urge state representatives Council encourages its members to urge state representatives to re-examine state education funding formulas. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Yep. I think that's much stronger.
I think this is where the hopeful can be. Council's hopeful with the end of the COVID. Why do I keep saying the COVID? The council's hopeful with the end of COVID for enrollment numbers to rebound in the 2021-2022 school year. Council is very concerned about the future of the Cape and Park Zoo due to the impact COVID-19 has had on its admissions. Council is encouraged by the increased admissions so far in spring of 2021, the performance of the gift shop throughout the pandemic, the creative events such as an October 2021 wedding, and looks forward to the return of field trips, camps, and other programs. The council urges the administration to use appropriate ARPA funds to offset lost revenue if it meets the criteria of the program. Council has been in favor of the use of the shared clerk position and was disappointed to see that position staffed only at 50%. It is the view of the council that the city should be looking at ways to increase shared services. The position illustrates the importance of shared services to maintain high levels of service delivery and best practices. Another example in this budget of shared services is moving the enterprise electrician to the wastewater department, while allowing the water department to pay when those services are needed. These are examples of how shared services bring a level of efficiency and cost savings to the city. The council would be open to a feasibility study focusing on a city-wide facilities management staff. This could potentially see taxpayer savings by preventative maintenance of city facilities, which can be cared for in-house. This could be an efficient and cost-efficient way of maintaining city buildings. Also, in the vein of shared services, the council agrees with the GIS service and subscription housed with the assessor, but it is accessible for other departments to use. This is an important service to provide accurate searches to multiple departments such as assessor, planning, and public safety. The council appreciates the incremental and responsible manner in which the water rate was raised. Small annual increases prevent larger rate fluctuations. Also, the council supports the trench repair to the water department to do the work after water main break. This gives the DPW the opportunity to redeploy resources and puts the accountability where it belongs in terms of these repairs. COVID-19 has illustrated how important it is to be able to have a flexible IT network. We have now seen how the city must pivot and change directions based on unforeseen circumstances. Recent cyber attacks across the country have brought into focus the importance of providing funding and resources for the MIS department as a function of the public safety. The council applauds the work of the MIS department and encourages the administration to keep focus on IT improvements, which give the MIS department the tools they need for a city this size. These tools may be internal or external sources to encourage continued growth in the MIS department. The council would like to see the continued focus on moving to an independent public safety network while understanding the potential scope. I'm talking in shorthand now. Cost and scope of the project. The council has asked for quarterly updates from the city solicitor in the past and asks again. It is important for the council to have line of sight into all legal matters pertaining to business and the associated fees pertaining all legal matters. In the associated fees quarterly, the council would also like to explore the benefits of internal versus external attorneys, including the Attleboro Public Schools. Other areas of focus Other areas the council remains focused on, continued focus on growing the capital improvement line items. Ideally, each department would have their own CIP line item in future budgets to help with CIP budgeting. Going forward, the Budget Committee will be requesting quarterly budget updates, including debt services from Budget Administration Director Jeremy Stahl, City Treasurer Laura Gignac, including a financial update annually per the charter. Communication with the administration on ARPA funds to have line of sight into when and how they will be used based on guidance from the federal government. Council remains focused on a comprehensive public safety feasibility study with a full review and understanding of the importance of this study as it relates to facilities, staffing levels, equipment, et cetera, to ensure world-class public safety in Attleboro.
Mr. Chairman, can we add a bullet?
Sure.
I appreciate that free cash was moved into the stabilization fund and the OPED funding this year at a higher level than years past. This could have been bigger, but there were just too many demands on that free cash. I mean, we had the greatest amount of free cash in the history of the city, and there were so many hands out, it quickly disappeared. I appreciate that the stabilization fund and OPED fund were more greatly funded this year than in the past. Fund. You know, that increase into the stabilization fund is the first thing that the Moody's and Standard & Poor look at in their bond rating. So this has some big ramifications, and let's hope we never have to use it.
Agreed. All right, is there anything else?
Jay, just one stylistic point. Council, be consistent in your capitalization of council. You might want to do like a replace, whatever they call that.
Yeah, I
That will
used
take
to
care
go
of it.
back and just kind of take a look at it, but I think the replace function is the way I will go.
Yeah.
Save some time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathleen, any of the, well, let me, can I get a second on this?
Second.
I like it. Second, yeah.
All right. Kathleen, overall thoughts on the message? Anything you think we missed? Anything you'd like to see in there?
No, I'm glad you addressed, you guys were right where I was, but the overtime, I was also going to be looking for some kind of consultant or evaluation of our use of overtime. So you're right there. No, I think you hit it. This, you know, I think the administration did a good job. I think we've raised some good points for moving forward as well. I feel like this is a pivotal time for some of the things that we're asking for. Like the time has come for some of the stuff to actually happen. So I think it's good. And I hope to see a lot of this come to fruition. You know, like I know you guys say you've been talking about for a while. I'm hoping it actually happens this year, you know, so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's very cogent points.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that being said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. And I'll thank everyone here on the floor tomorrow night as we vote this out. This will be the 4th year in a row that we've gotten the budget taken care of with still time to spare in case anything comes up. We have to have it voted out the 25th. We'll have it voted hopefully on the 17th. This has been a process, as Rick said. 2 years in a row with Zoom isn't easy. 2 years in a row with COVID isn't easy. I do appreciate, I appreciate my committee. I really do. You know, Rick, you and I don't always see eye to eye, but when we do, man, we're a force. You know, Todd, you bring just a level of critical thinking and just analytics, which is great. You know, I also want to thank Ty, Kathleen, and Peter. You guys have been at basically every single one you've added to it. This is what it takes to get a budget passed. what I love about this, and Rick and Peter, we've been involved in politically charged budget message sessions where councils have stormed out, where, you know, well, it wasn't just you. I wasn't even thinking of you, big guy.
I walked out of the room and 3 councilors followed me.
On the budget message?
Yes, ma'am. When the mayor and the budget and the chief financial officer walked in the room, I walked out.
Wow.
Yeah, that was 2010, 2011. You know, and I think since then, and what was important about that is I think that it drew the appropriate delineation, you know, but I just think that, you know, we understand what's on the line, and these last 2 budgets have been really critical, and these are going to be 2 of the budgets that we look back years from now and say this helped shape the future of the city. So sorry if I'm being a little cheesy at this point, but
I agree.
you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask of the committee. It's a lot to ask of Deb and Jeremy, and to have Kathleen and Ty and Peter volunteer their time. It's in Laura. Laura was at a lot of them too. So,
Yep.
All right, Councilor Conti.
I was telling a member of my staff today of our budget process and the meeting schedule, and they were stunned. Attleboro takes its budget process very, very seriously. And before the meeting started, Mr. Chairman, I complimented you for the process this year because I thought it was pretty intense. There were things that were, and I really truly appreciate the addition of Jeremy Stull to the committee meetings. You challenged me this year, Mr. Chairman. There was a lot of information in that debt presentation I did not understand, and I've been seriously attacking the budget, both on the school side and on the administration side, pretty hard during my tenure on the council. It's complicated, and to be frank with you, on my term in the council, I've seen where it's beyond some councils, and I think a lot of councilors quit trying to keep up with what's going on because it is so complicated. Your drive as a chairman, together with Councilor Kobus, I'm going to bring you into this as well, the 2 of you, working with, and me just as the 3rd member. I can't believe what we went through this year on the budget process. The addition of Jeremy adding those department head synopsises into the budget is brilliant. The analysis that Deb Gould is presenting to the budget to the budget committee on each department before the meeting is a tremendous contribution. To keep up with those 2 takes a lot of coffee. And that concludes my comments.
Yeah, thank you for the words, you know, and I think that one thing that I think you and I have done really well together is we have brought that symmetry between capital improvements and the budget that's been missing for a long time. I think the joint public hearing we're going to have, the joint meeting we're going to have in July is going to be really, it's going to be one of those really game-changing moments in terms of how things get done. I think putting in a line item for capital improvements that, you know, and again, responsibly and incrementally grow those line items. Before long, we won't need a $500,000 capital improvement budget because each department head will have their own, you know. But it's just changing the way things have been done. And I think that really this was a lot. It was a lot. And, you know, I'm talking to Deb 3-4 times a week, talking to Jeremy 3-4 times a week, Virginia 3-4 times a day, you know, but it's, we got a lot done. And Peter, you know, I appreciate the perspective you bring because, you know, you've sat through quite a few of these budget processes. And I think that it's really important to understand that institutional knowledge. So I certainly appreciate having you here.
Thank you.
You know, so look, and Kathleen, appreciate the wordsmithing. I appreciate the way you're looking at things. asking the right questions. The questions that Kathleen asked, Deb, they're in depth and they're the right questions asked at the right time. So, you know, to your point, Rick, I think that the budget is cumbersome, it's challenging, and it's changing. You know, it changes from year to year, and it's not as simple as people think. All right, I don't know about you all, but I'm ready for a cigar and a whiskey, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:09.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 7:09, and we'll see you in just about 24 hours, friends.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
See
you,
ya.
gentlemen.
Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Amen.